Friends, welcome to video 32 in our series Principles of Equity Investing. As you know, I have been dealing with a number of principles on this issue, equity investing, and many more are going to come. So here in this video series, you will not find any shortcuts, any recommendation to any particular stock, because that's not my role. My role is to essentially help you to get a perspective about equity investing and equip yourself to take the appropriate decisions which suit your circumstances, which suit your requirements, your understanding. And it is from this ethos that I have been making this entire video series, and I'll continue to do it. I, in fact, plan to add another 25 to 30 videos in this series. So, in this particular video, I'm going to talk about this important dimension of risk return. Well, we did talk about risk in the context of beta in one of the earlier videos. In this video, I'll also talk about why some companies have a high beta and why some companies tend to have low beta, some have medium beta. So some of those driving factors is what we're going to discuss. But more importantly, what I want to discuss in this video is just build this awareness that we need to be aware about the risk profile of our entire portfolio. So what do I mean by that? Particularly, you would have experienced this in the COVID situation, that certain stocks were very vulnerable to this fall. Some stocks were reasonably steady and some had a less fall. So the risk profile of each of our investment was different. Those which were very risky had a very dramatic fall. Those which were less risky had a much less fall. And those which had a medium risk had a fall, but not, so scary. So essentially, therefore, it's important that we need to be aware about this risk profile of our portfolio. Another thing is that once we are aware about the risk profile, then management of fear in our mind becomes also easy. In fact, you can also create strategies whereby you can ensure that even if such a drastic fall happens, and I also face this kind of a drastic fall, in the markets and a resultant impact on my portfolio, but I was more comfortable because essentially I had followed this principle of being aware about the riskiness of my portfolio. I was quite aware whether my companies, the companies in which I have invested, have lots of borrowings or they are very light in terms of borrowings. On the contrary, are they sitting on piles of cash? So, if a company is sitting on piles of cash, it would easily be able to manage the challenges out of this kind of a situation, whereas a company which is heavily borrowed will have a lot more challenges in terms of interest cost, in terms of many other dimensions, which we're going to unfold in this. And therefore, we need to be aware about our risk profile. I'm not saying that high risk is necessarily bad, but high risk has to be selective. Well, in a dramatic fall like this, as we had discussed in the context of the beta, and I would request you to have a look at that video if you have not seen that. In fact, high risk, high beta stocks is a great addition for those whose portfolios are quite light in terms of risk during a severe downturn. So, for example, when this COVID situation happened, high risk stocks were a great buy at that time because they had a more dramatic fall. So some of these ideas we need to keep in mind because finally equity investing has science as well as an art. So principles that I have been talking about in this video series talk about the science, but there is also an art in terms of being agile, being aware about how our portfolio is and the opportunities in the market and grabbing those opportunities. So that is something that each one of us has to do and develop a style which suits our own personality, our own challenges, the amount of time that we have. So these aspects become very important. And of course, in the later videos, I'm also going to talk about how do we simplify the whole investing part. In fact, in the next video, video 33 itself, I'm going to talk about how do we easily achieve diversification. So those aspects are also very important. So let's talk about this aspect a little more in detail. So, equity investments are risky by nature. I think we need to be very aware about it. So, we cannot say that, we want to swim in the sea, and then we can't say that there can't be any high tides and low tides. They are going to happen. If you are very scared about swimming in a sea, then we should rather swim in, a nice pool where you don't have anything more than the pool waves. But why do we still find sea surfers? Because they really enjoy those high tides, low tides, the movement of water, and that's what happens with equity investors also. So taking that risk is really worth it because the return from a long-term perspective is excellent. And even in COVID-like situation, as I had talked about in my video, which I had prepared as soon as the COVID situation started unfolding and the markets had a dramatic fall, that it is going to provide an unprecedented opportunity to buy, provided we follow a certain discipline. So clearly there is a certain merit in equity investing. It is risky, but from a return perspective, it is excellent. We had already discussed in the context of beta that riskiness is not the same for every share. We found that there were very low beta companies. We found that there were very high beta companies. And we had also seen how to actually use that to our advantage. And that video actually details all those aspects quite thoroughly. So the point I made in the opening slide was that we need to be aware about risk profile of our portfolio. So let's see why this risk arises. Why is beta high in the later slides? So what are the sources of risk which create high beta? This is exactly the point I was talking about. One of the major reasons why beta tends to be higher is in respect of companies which have borrowed significantly. So a situation of high borrowings and therefore high interest cost is a clear invitation for high beta. So you will typically find that companies with low borrowings, you will also find low beta stocks. Companies with high borrowings, the beta will also tend to be very high because there is one layer of cost which gets created in the cost structure, which is the interest cost. Substantial part of this interest cost is fixed in nature. So in situations where your business is not doing well, that fixed cost, that fixed interest cost really hurts you and the profits dramatically fall. And the same thing also happens because of high fixed operating costs. So interest predominantly is fixed financial cost, but there is another fixed component which is high fixed operating costs. So we saw that airline stocks, hospitality industry stocks, mall operators, their stock prices collapse because basically what we find is that they have high fixed operating costs, and plus if they own a lot of their equipment including aircrafts, then the borrowings tend to be also very high. It gives rise to a very high interest cost, and that becomes a very big challenge. So these kinds of companies tend to have very high beta. In a COVID-like situation, uh, if your portfolio had companies which were very strong on cash, that means they had actually piles of cash with themselves, forget about borrowings, then you would find that their stocks had low beta and therefore relatively lower risk. They would have recovered relatively quicker also as soon as some opening up would have started. But those which had very high fixed operating costs, high borrowing and therefore high interest costs would take longer time to recover. Also because, of course, I'm not getting into the technicality of this here. I'll discuss that in my cost discussion series separately. I've already created some 6-7 videos in that cost discussions, and I will at appropriate stage also add discussion on break-even point, etc. But break-even point simply means that level of activity at which the sales and costs exactly match and there is no profit, no loss. But to reach that level, when you have a very high borrowings and therefore high interest cost and high fixed operating costs kind of scenario, to reach break-even point becomes tough, and therefore a company takes that much longer time to achieve profitability. Now that also creates a high risk and the beta tends to be high. Also, another source of risk is unproven business models. There may be some unique companies where you have taken a call to invest, and they are unique companies. You don't find a lot of competitors domestically, so there is a possibility of a windfall because it's a new business model, a new business, but it also carries high risk. So even in this situation, you will find that reactions are very sharp from the market. Any good news, the stock will start flying. Any bad news, people will get into very quick selling, and that would result into a high fall. A newer company which is not yet completely stabilized, there are still some question marks in investors' mind, because finally, what is valuation? Valuation is uh, a subjective assessment of the future profitability, future cash flows. And this is completely derived from information. Now, if information is adequate, like what happens with very mature companies, valuations are relatively stable. Uh, but companies which are unproven, business models are not proven, new type of business, still there are some challenges, but there is a lot of hope, then the fluctuation will tend to be very dramatic. So there will be windfall gain or there could be a windfall loss also. So therefore, this will also be typically a high beta kind of a company. Also, there are some companies which have a typical cycle. Now, in some cases, the cycle can be 2 years. Real estate, the cycle can be much longer. Plus, there are seasonal factors. For example, look at hospitality industry, hotels. Typically in India, April to September is a slack period. So you'll find that most companies actually report losses during this period, and that impacts the investor sentiment. But come October, their cash registers are ringing and they start making a lot of money. So October to March, they make so much money that it's sufficient to get over the losses of the earlier 6 months. So here also there will be a certain amount of volatility which will arise, and naturally the beta will tend to be high in such cases. On the other hand, risk will be very low when factors play out in exactly opposite way. For example, if a company is cash rich, hardly any borrowings, it has outsourced a lot of its manufacturing, all the non-core functions have been outsourced. So it is very lean in terms of its fixed operating costs, because there are no borrowings, there is no fixed financial cost, and then you will find risk is very low. So therefore, now depending on your own appetite, you need to be very clear whether you are comfortable with a relatively little low return, but you would like to go with companies which are large, where risk is relatively low. Maybe the return could be slightly lower as compared to some of the unproven companies which can give fabulous returns, as they are called as multi-baggers. But that is something you are taking a lot more chance, and if you don't have adequate information about the company and you're busy in your own profession, business, employment, and you don't have sufficient time, then you need to prune your portfolio in such a way that you are not unnecessarily inviting risk with the hope of a much higher return, because then your capital can be at risk. So this is something which you need to take a very calculated decision. So therefore, I would say that some exposure to high risk stocks is welcome, because that definitely adds some flavor to our own portfolio. We do get some extra return out of such investments, but we start doing that too much, then it becomes a very, very risky proposition, because if we get completely swayed by those expectations of unduly high returns and we start adding too many of them in our portfolio, then it clearly creates an extremely high risk without we knowing it, because people keep on recommending, we talk to others, and we don't have time to make proper assessment of the company. Somebody who is trustworthy has recommended something to you, you go and buy that, and then something negative can happen. So you need to ensure that you may have a couple of such stocks which will add to the zing of the overall portfolio. They may give you some excitement in terms of owning some multi-baggers, but you need to be very careful about how many you add into your portfolio. Now, if your portfolio already has high risk because of these kinds of investments that you have done, what you should do is consciously add low risk investments into your portfolio to bring more stability. And in fact, as I'm going to talk on the next slide, you can also use certain opportunities to rebalance your portfolio, right? So what kind of opportunities that can arise? Let's talk about those in the next slide. What happens with sometimes these unproven high risk companies? So I'm not saying that the promoters don't have the right intent, they have the right intent, but they are also struggling. They are also trying to bring up the company. And sometimes due to either rumors or very high expectations or some favorable review by somebody, suddenly it starts building a lot more expectation from that stock, and you find that these kinds of stocks very quickly go up. But beyond a point, that rally does not sustain quite often. I'm sure you would have experienced this. And then the stock starts falling again. And then the fall in the stock prices becomes even more rapid because some of these people who have just rushed in for speculative reasons then start getting scared and they start dumping. So therefore, what I would recommend is that if your portfolio already has inadvertently created a lot many stocks or added lot many stocks which are of this high risk category, then you can use these opportunities of sudden spurts to exit without getting greedy about further rise in those stocks. So make an assessment today, with Google and other search engines. You can easily find out what's going on and if there are any disclosures. You can go to the exchanges and find what kind of disclosures have been done by the company. I'm also going to talk about the official trades by insiders and what kind of impact that can have. So I'm going to talk about it in a later video, but you have to go to the website of the exchange and check. Now, if there is not much which gives credibility for such a rapid rise, apart from greed and speculation, then you should definitely use opportunity to book profits and move to low risk stocks. So you don't have to necessarily encash and take the money out of the market. You can that time add relatively low risk, large cap stocks, which have low on borrowings, reasonably good cash flows. By the way, those of you who are interested in terms of how to analyze financial statements, I have a completely different series called as Learning Finance, and it has 50 videos, right from basics, and they have been presented in a very, very non-accounting way, in a way that any learner can easily understand, and then you are taken to a level where you can even analyze financial statements through ratio analysis. So I would encourage you to have a look at those videos so that conceptually you are very clear. As I have mentioned, the purpose of this video series is not to give you any recommendations. Neither am I registered as an equity analyst with SEBI, and therefore I'm not authorized to talk about any particular stock and recommend that. But whatever principles I follow in my personal investing is something I'm sharing here just to equip you to take decisions properly. So look at these videos from that perspective. They don't give you any shortcuts to success. They just give you the framework which you can, definitely build a superstructure using that framework by thinking about them. On the other hand, if your portfolio is a very low risk portfolio, very defensive portfolio, then it will be great to add some high beta stocks at bottoms, because you may remember I had talked about this in my beta related video, that the beta can work both ways from returns perspective. So if there is a high beta and you have bought a stock when the prices were extremely high and the market starts correcting, this particular stock will correct even more. On the other hand, if you are getting an opportunity to buy at the bottoms, like for example in India, Nifty was at about 7,500 level at the time of this pandemic, COVID pandemic news which started flowing in. In fact, the deaths had not risen by that time, but markets always anticipate these things, that there will be a surge in patients and surge in deaths. So the markets fell dramatically, and that was the time to add some high beta stocks, because as I had explained in the beta video, when the market goes up, the high beta stocks would dramatically go up and they will provide even better returns than what the market has risen. So market has come in just a period of 3 months from Nifty 7,500 to Nifty 10,000 plus. Market has already given 33% return. But if imagine if the beta of a particular company was 2, then the return would be in the vicinity of 60% and above. Imagine in 3 months you getting return like that. So this is very much possible, and market bottoms can be used to add high beta stocks, particularly if your overall risk in your portfolio is relatively manageable and low. Also, you can use what I call a switching strategy. This switching strategy is also a way of reducing your risk. So suppose, for example, there are a couple of high quality stocks, but not all of them necessarily go up together. You have one stock which has gone up rapidly. Encash that, book your profits, switch that money into a stock which is yet to catch up, and maybe that will also catch up, because you start observing these kinds of patterns once you build your own portfolio. And this is where the issue of simplicity also comes in. If you have 50 stocks, it will be very difficult for you to observe. But if you have 10 stocks where your investments are more concentrated, then it's much easier to observe these patterns, and you can switch from a stock which has very quickly risen, take your capital out and invest in another stock which is not sufficiently risen. You already have that stock, but you can add some quantity, so that when that stock moves again, you have an opportunity to sell. So this is another way in which you can manage your risk and return, that when there is a rise in the stock, you have also encashed the stock, and therefore you are actually reducing the risk in your portfolio. Imagine if stock price has gone up and you have not done anything on that, then you are building a little higher risk in your portfolio. Finally, what is risk? Risk is, from an equity investing perspective, a potential fall in the overall value. So as they always say, what goes up is going to come down. Now, unless there is a structural change in the fortunes of the company, this is a cyclical change and in the stock price, and you should encash that. I'm not saying necessarily you have to exit in the whole go. You can exit 20-30% and use that money somewhere else. That also improves your overall risk return paradigm. So as I was saying, stock rotation is a good way to protect capital and create upside, and particularly this is going to be more important in the days to come, as the markets are going to be disrupted, not only because of a pandemic like this, but because of new players who are emerging and who can suddenly take away market shares from the traditional brick and mortar companies. It will be very important that we actually book our profits and reduce the risk in our portfolio. So here I do not mean risk from a beta perspective. I mean risk of probable fall in the portfolio value, because after the stock has risen, you have not done anything to it. So this discipline of selling off is also a very important discipline in investing. Unfortunately, that's not so much talked about, but in my view, that's a very important discipline. So defensive investing and agile investing are important ways to reduce risk. Defensive, what do I mean? If something has risen very quickly, get out of it. Even if it goes up further, don't regret, because you'll always have a new opportunity. But if you don't sell and the stock price corrects, then that's a real loss. So we have to create defensive investing strategies and agile investing. So I'm not saying we have to get into day trading, but at least over a period of 3-4 months, if our stocks have risen to our expectation, taking profit out of that and moving money elsewhere is very important to reduce the overall risk of our portfolio. So I hope you liked this video. If you have, do press the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, do offer your valuable comments, share this video, and do suggest topics. So within my own limitations, I'll be very happy to create more videos on a variety of topics. Thank you so much.